panel, we have some eminent corporates, which are joining in. Kiran ma'am, Sunita ma'am, and Velumani sir are there. So please log in for the, perspective from the corporate side as well. Salesh sir mentioned about the diagnostic space. We mentioned about the hospital space as well. And Biocon has been interesting because of what is happening with the Samsung Biologicals, the kind of valuation that company has been getting. So that will be very interesting session. Thank you once again, everyone, for being on the panel, and a lot of people for tuning and to listening to us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And I, from my bottom of heart to all the panelists and all the viewers, I think the panelists were fantastic. They were as open as they could be. And I'm very sure this interaction will be remembered for a long time to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Varinder, what a good panel discussion it was.
It
was really an awesome discussion. Thanks to you and Madhu sir to just kind of ensure that we do it, and all the panelists who have given valuable feedback, valuable insights, and the way it was. And Madhu sir, thanks a lot for taking this panel discussion. I'm sure you enjoyed a lot, and you kind of put people on spot that they would, they just wanted to ensure that, ensure that the answers comes. It was really, really good.
But thank you so much. Partially, it is our respect, that they could not avoid the questions. And secondly, we must be thankful to them that in spite of all regulatory constraints they have, they spoke their heart out. I would request the Corpgini team to make a real condensed video of the important discussion which has happened over the last 2 days, and really make it available for people as a reference point for the healthcare industry.
We will do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're just going to start the next panel discussion in about few minutes. We just going to have a very power-packed second panel discussion as well. Mir, if you are there, if you can just kind of switch on the next panel discussions video, and also change the name so that we can set the things up for the next discussion. I think Mahavir, you're online? Yeah, okay, good. Eric and Mahavir are there. So Eric and Mahavir, over to you for the next panel discussion. Varinder will log off again, and then we'll leave it to you and Mahavir, you and Eric to carry forward the next discussion.
Sure.
Are we live? It says live right now.
We are live. Yeah, we are live because it's a continuous panel discussion. So we'll just take a kind of couple of minutes for us to have. I think we already have the next panelist. I would request them to switch on the video so that we can add you there, and we will be starting with the next panel discussion. Over to you, Mahavir and Eric.
Thank you, Amit.
So Amit, Mahavir, if you'd like, ready to introduce the panelists for our next panel discussion.
Sure.
Yeah, so we just wait for a couple of minutes. So we have, hello.
Welcome, Sunita madam. Nice to have you on the panel. I think you are on mute, madam.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. Hope all well at your end. Nice to see you.
Things are busy.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Dr. Velumani, you're there? If you can put your video on, please. I think he joined. Maybe he'll just log in back because he joined a few minutes back. And
sure.
So Eric, maybe you can start with the
So what
intro?
we'll do is, Mahavir, I think whilst Dr. Velumani and Kiran ma'am joins, we can quickly do a quick demo about, talk about Corpgini for maybe a few seconds
Sure.
for the benefit of all the audience. Will that be okay? So we just kind of do that till we get the other panel speakers to join. I think we have.
Sunita ma'am, we'll just take 2 minutes before I think Velu sir also joins. We'll just have an intro pitch for 2 minutes if you're okay with that.
Fine, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you.
Perfect. I think broadly we did discuss Mahavir, and maybe I would just want to kind of share the screen for the benefit of all the audience that why we are doing this event and what drives Corpgini team to do what we're doing. I just wanted to briefly discuss about the innovation landscape. I think it is our vision to kind of bring radical to the corporates in India. What we mean by that is that currently, if you see the innovation paradigm, most of the corporates are doing incremental innovation, which means that companies are looking at going to do the innovations which are in AI, new formulations, the productivity improvements, etc., etc. However, there's a need, and there are a lot of specialized solutions of the startups which are working towards functional AI, quantum computing, cognitive computing, maybe medical devices, advanced robotics, and all those kind of innovations are happening globally. And there's a need for a far larger collaboration because at one end, the corporates have the understanding about how the industry functions. They know the challenges which the industries are facing, and on the other hand, the experts or the startups, the new age startups, are working on some cutting edge solutions. So if we can marry them through a collaborative platform, that will be a killer, and that's where the Corpgini comes into play, and that's where we predominantly want to bring the digitization of innovation. It's a digital platform where we have 5 modules: signals, collaboration, OKR, blueprint, and cadence. One go through the innovation journey in the similar format, and in cadence you start discovering, connecting, collaborating with solution providers on the Corpgini platform. So this is a comprehensive technology tool for any corporate to do innovation. And the idea is to ensure that every corporate, especially during the COVID times and now, when everything we are seeing from a new perspective, there will be a far larger need to do this. Uh, Lastly, we are driving on engagement. Most of the corporates which have already started working with us are looking at far deeper engagement. We already have more than $750 billion worth of market cap companies already on the platform. We've kind of showcased 3,000 plus solutions to these corporates and been working along with that. In fact, in our last panel discussion, we had Sri Ratan Tata also attended one of the session, and he kind of addressed the need of an hour, which is innovation. So that's a key theme where we've been working towards. And if you are a corporate who's looking or in kind of a decision maker in a corporate who's looking for innovation, I think come reach out to us and we would be happy to work along with you. I think that's it from my side. We are based out of Silicon Valley, California, and in Bombay. I'm based in Silicon Valley, and my partner Mahavir, who's there, is based there, and we've been working that's more like an Indo-US corridor bridge. Thank you, and without any ado, Mahavir, over to you. I think we have the other panelists, and so to begin with the next session. Just one quick reminder. After this panel discussion, we'll be doing 6 startup showcase. So for the audience, please stay there on the if you want to or wish to see this innovative solutions from all across the globe who will be kind of disrupting the healthcare sector. Thank you.
Thank you, Amit. I think this is quite helpful.
I'll stop sharing my screen, and I will leave it to you. I think, do we have the other panelist members? I think you'll have to switch on the video.
We'll start. So Eric, maybe if you can introduce yourself and also the panelists, and then we'll go on to the discussion part.
Sure. Thank you so much. Happy to take a few minutes to say hello, everyone joining us from home or wherever you are sheltering in place or slowly starting to make your way back into the workforce, especially if you're somebody who's critical in helping people. So big thank you to our healthcare workers and pharmaceutical workers and everyone else who's out there really trying to keep us safe, first responders and everyone. My name is Eric Malice. I will be introducing the panelists in our second panel for day 2 of our virtual webinar, where we've been bringing a series of discussions from experts around how different technologies can help impact our lives, especially dealing with COVID-19, as well as bringing in panelists to talk about their views on how we can get through this and be better for it from a technological and a business standpoint. Right now, if you've joined us in the last couple hours, or if you're just joining us now, the theme is the future of healthcare, pharmaceutical, and allied HPA industries. So again, this 3-day virtual panel has been put together by Corpgini in collaboration with Fiki, Pharmexcil, and Bloomberg Quint, with the support of Pantomath Group and Z Nation Lab. So today we have the pleasure to host 3 stalwarts of the Indian pharmaceutical and healthcare industry. Just before we do, I'll take a moment to introduce myself. For those of you that have been with us for our series of discussions, I'm Eric Malice, one of the advisors to Corpgini. I'm a co-founder, CMO of a company called Wincode, which does computer vision and AI in the manufacturing space. Also co-founder and partner in Talus Partners, which is a legal and strategy consulting firm that works with startups and different members of the startup community to help drive innovation and technologies through helping businesses structure and grow. Happy to be here as a brief guest speaker and now turn it over to the 3 panelists who I'll introduce, starting with Karan Mazumdar-Shaw, Executive Chairperson of Biocon Limited. She's a pioneer of India's biotech industry and founder of Biocon. Ms. Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw is the proud recipient of India's highest civilian honors, the Padma Shri 1989 and Padma Bhushan 2005. She was also honored with the Order of Australia, Australia's highest civilian honor, in January 2020. In 2016, she was conferred with the highest French distinction, Knight of the Legion of Honor. She has most recently been ranked as one of the world's top 20 inspirational leaders in the field of biopharmaceuticals on the Medicine Maker Power List 2020. She's very passionate about innovation and mentors many science-based startups. We are honored to have her here with us. Also like to introduce Dr. A. Velumani, the founder and chairman and managing director of ThyroCare Technologies Limited. Born to parents of limited means in a small village, ANP Pudur, near, pardon my pronunciation, Coimbatore in Tamil Nadu in 1959. Today he owns and operates ThyroCare, an industry leader and a household brand. Began as a mathematician, became a scientist with a PhD in thyroid biochemistry from BARC Mumbai University, now a celebrated entrepreneur. Dr. Velumani proves amply clear to industry that focus gives success and frugality gives a sustainable success. He has never borrowed personally or for his company. And we're excited to have the good doctor here with us today. And then finally, let me introduce Ms. Sunita Reddy, Managing Director of Apollo Hospitals, Asia's foremost and trusted healthcare provider. Under her stewardship, Apollo Hospitals has emerged as a forerunner of integrated healthcare and also has a robust presence across the healthcare spectrum. Ms. Reddy was instrumental in bringing the first FDI into healthcare in India and subsequently in taking the organization to international equity markets through a successful GDR. Now, with a clear focus on making the company future ready, Sunita Reddy is heading efforts to transform Apollo Hospitals into a digitally enabled organization. And finally, excited to have Ms. Reddy with us. Our moderator, who you've heard from already, moderator for today's panel is Mr. Mahavir Lunawat, founder of mid-market investment banking and corporate services group Pantomath, and co-founder of Corpgini. He's a gold medalist at CS Profession and has hardworking experience in some of the finest conglomerates, including ITC Limited, Reliance Industries Limited, and PricewaterhouseCoopers. Mr. Mahavir, happy to turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, Eric. And I think you pronounced quite well. So compliments to you. And I think that shows that you have been able to all of us. So, and thanks very much for taking efforts, even midnight at California, and being with us. That only shows your passion towards the development work with all of us are doing for the betterment and advancement of industry. So, well, warm welcome, Dr. Reddy and Dr. Velumani. It's great honor and privilege to have you on this panel. Ms. Kiran Majumdar-Shaw will be joining shortly. Meanwhile, we'll start our discussion. I think over past 50 plus years, Indian pharma industry has come up a long way in terms of both meeting domestic needs as well as building a leading position in the global pharmaceutical landscape. I think it may not be wrong to say what software was once upon a time to India in 2000, pharma is now to the country. And this has been made possible due to several factors such as formulation development capabilities, early investments, consistent quality, cost levels, so on and so forth. And in my view, above all, global dominate of Indian pharma is to the credit of visionary leadership of Indian entrepreneurship. And it's a great privilege to have three distinct leaders on today's panel holding baton across pharma and healthcare segments. While it's very important to get motivated with what we achieved, it's equally essential to be mindful of challenges. Potential localization of drug manufacturing at developed economies, drug discovery by machine learning and AI-based technologies, innovative tools such as point of care, etc., I think indicate a brand new trend setting in. Besides, we have certain fundamental challenges given our sort of demographics, such as lack of adequate medical infrastructure, meager healthcare spend as a percentage of GDP, lack of strong supervisory mechanism for diagnostic labs, to name a few. And who better than today's panel to deliberate and understand as to how we can build on capabilities and what measures can be adopted to become future ready. Friends, as rightly introduced, we have today with us an illustrious panel of torchbearers, Ms. Kiran Majumdar-Shaw, Dr. Sunita Reddy, and Dr. Velumani. Thank you so much, Madam Sunita and Dr. Velumani, for joining us today amidst your busy schedule. Very, very warm welcome on the panel once again. So I'll start the discussion and I'll try to keep it as interactive as possible and take best inputs out of our illustrious panelists. And I'll go to the straight away to the question of the current situation has brought unprecedented challenges. It has kind of toppled all of us up and down. COVID-19, nobody perhaps visualized or anticipated the kind of implications and impact it has to each one of our lives in our respective areas, regardless of the industry. So Dr. Sunita Reddy, what was your first reaction when you were faced with this situation?
My first reaction was, we have created infrastructure which is, 10,000 beds. So I realized that, we need to think beyond creating infrastructure, because if you look at the nature of the disease, the diagnosis of the disease, the treatment protocols, and eventually the vaccine are the three most important components of handling COVID-19. So at a very basic level, we knew that we had the beds ready, we had the nurses and doctors. But having said that, we did several things. The first thing we did is develop an app, which is a digital app that did the risk scoring for us. And we call that 24/7. And in that, there were about 10 million customers who actually downloaded the app. They did a risk scoring, and before our Arogya Setu, we were able to establish a heat map and locate where we had a high density of COVID patients. having done that, we really ramped up treatment protocols in those areas. And I think the proof is that we've been very successful in handling COVID patients. I say this because while there are treatment protocols around, the Apollo approach has been completely different. We've looked not just as standardized treatment protocols, but we've been treating patients as patients. We looked at underlying comorbidities, and that's why if you look at the fatality rate in our hospitals has been 1%. So I think my lesson is clearly use digital, go beyond your physical infrastructure to test, to see those who can work out with home isolation. Second, prepare the infrastructure. Third, create a really lean organization that is continuously in touch with your consumers, with our patients.
That's indeed commendable, Dr. Reddy. Not only you have stated in terms of how you experience, rather you have very nicely put it across some of the ways forward in terms of how do we handle the situation during this pandemic and post scenario. Quickly connecting to Dr. Velumani, welcome, sir, again. I think, what was your first reaction to the situation and how you handled the situation at your organization?
Yeah, COVID as a disaster is very difficult to define what kind of distress it has brought in. We were doing in a day around 1.25 crore turnover, which suddenly became 1.25 lakh turnover overnight. Oh. That means in a lockdown, in a diagnostics business, which is largely logistics dependent, has completely collapsed. So that is the disaster of the disease. But then we started testing for COVID. But then in COVID testing, every day, everyone is learning, including the health ministry from central government to the state government to the local municipality. All of them keep changing advisories, and some advisories don't match with each other, and we have to match with all the three advisories. And it has been a very big hell because every now and then there is a SOCAS notice citing a Epidemics Diseases Act, which we were not used to. We are only testing people. We know testing, and testing is easier. But if we are asked, why did you collect specimen from that patient? It is very difficult for us to know which patient to be collected and which should not be collected. And giving the result back to the customer after, a route through the municipal corporation also has taken its own toll. Having said that, we all have increased the capacities to do testing. What we started with 400 a day capacity today is around 3,000 a day capacity. So we have scaled up, our expertise is there. Getting the man to work in lockdown is a very big challenge. Making a man to work in a healthcare facility is much bigger challenge. Making him to stare at the live virus in the laboratory is a Himalayan task. So motivating them and making them to work is another big challenge. We have done around 35,000 swab testing in this last 60 days. I must sum it up. The experience which I have had in the last 60 years of life and what last 60 days of my life, both are equal. The learnings as well as the way in which we have adapted to the new COVID, non-COVID fears, lockdown fears, and sticking to the advisories of different governments. So overall, it looks like we have managed to master the testing, but the rest is left to the government to see how much more to test it, whom to test, how long to test. All these things is government's policies, and we are very eagerly awaiting. Let me sum it up. The control of industry, be it diagnostics or hospital, it is not in the hands of the CEO of the organizations. It is in the hands of the administration.
Very well said, sir. I think you made a mention of 60 days learning equivalent to past 60 years. I believe this 60 days learning will at least help us survive for next 60 years. You made a very pertinent point, Dr. Velumani, about the regulation and about the policy, framework, and particularly in terms of diagnostics. Pathology is a very localized, stream with very low entry barriers. More than 50% of the industry consists of unorganized or at best semi-organized. And I think a very paltry 1% of path labs are accredited. So a large portion of fatalities occur due to untimely and improper diagnosis, especially in rural and semi-urban areas. And this I'm talking in overall context, even without COVID, for example. So what measures in your view can be adopted as directional steps to address this menace? So we have a country with proper and timely diagnosis, leading to reduced fatalities and a healthy life going forward.
Yeah, the country is very vast. The geography is too difficult to tame and work. And also another reason is it is not a government of India purview. It is the state government purview, which says each state will define its regulatory methods and controls. Having said that, anybody can do the test is wrong. Anywhere test can be done is wrong. And not following any quality is wrong. So it is going to be a tough time for the state to bring in an order and register all of them, give guidelines to all of them, prescribe what quality control they need to follow if they have to report. I think, as you said, it's hardly 1% or 2% if the laboratories are accredited. I think without the 51% accredited laboratories in a country, you just can't control anything. So having said that, we have moved very slow in the last 20 years in number of hospitals or laboratories accredited for laboratory testing. I have a reason to believe this tappad of COVID. I call this tappad because it has come as a very powerful slap in everybody's cheek. It's not only administration, not only healthcare, it is the entire society. Is likely to facilitate this mechanism of monitoring quality across the country and make it accessible at the remote districts of the states of the country. It's a journey, and I believe this particular episode, which happens in 2020, will, as you said, will form a basis for next 60 years. And things should move, and if things don't move, we are idiots. We have not learned.
Definitely. I think very well, remarked. Connecting to Dr. Reddy, you made a very valid point in terms of, going digital, so the hospital segment in particular, this has its own peculiarities: long gestation, capital intensive, societal expectations, some of which have been highlighted by even Dr. Velumani. Inadequate medical infra, so on. And I think less than 9 hospital beds per 10,000 citizens and only 8 physicians per 10,000 as per the published data points. The country's healthcare sector, I think, is far from being equipped. And the current pandemic unearthed the dismal situation of public hospital infrastructure in India. What, according to you, the measures both the government and the industry must take to overcome public medical infrastructure paralysis?
I think, like Dr. Velumani said, this is probably the time where, you've got, in 60 days, you've learned what you would have learned in 60 years. Clearly, this pandemic has showed us the need for medical infrastructure. You've highlighted the discrepancy between beds and population. There needs to be an investment in healthcare, not only in infrastructure, but in skilling. This is why I think Apollo came to India about in 1986. When we came in 1986, if you treated a patient with a heart attack with an open heart surgery, it was a big thing. Today, doing an open heart surgery is a common thing. So I truly believe that the impetus that was given to the IT sector in terms of giving them free land, in terms of giving them, no taxation. These are the things that need to be given to the healthcare sector so that we can create additional infrastructure. And we must not forget that part of this is skilling, so that we can create more, not only do we create more jobs on one side, but we create the capability to deal with the disease patterns as they emerge. A lot has been done. I must admit that the government has done a lot in terms of creating, helping to create medical colleges. There was a new act passed that enabled district hospitals to be converted to be part of medical colleges, and this has really eased the way, but much more needs to be done. And I think part of that is how do we attract funding into this sector, and really how does the government support it? So we have been also looking at PPP models. The government has spoken about your viability gap funding, and while this will help in the district hospitals that treat about 50 to 60% of India, much more needs to be done in the urban centers as well, in Tier 2 cities. So we hope that the government will consider us the next IT sector, where they will give us the impetus to create both the infrastructure and the skilling, and we will also be able to attract foreign investment into the country and thereby create not only a healthy India, but jobs, because for every one person who is employed in the healthcare sector, there are 4 other ancillary jobs that are being created.
Thank you, Dr. Reddy. I think yesterday we had the Honorable Minister of State for Health and Family Welfare, and he spoke at length about the PPP model, and we hope and believe that the model kind of gets implemented immediately, and not only it saves us from the pandemic like this, but also in our routine, lifestyle. I think Ms. Kiran Majumdar-Shaw has also joined. Welcome, madam. Warm welcome to you. And we just began, I think, wonderful work you have been doing. So compliments. And all of us have, we have got a lot of questions, more than 1,000 people listening to this conversation. I think the question which is coming up repeatedly is that when are we going to have this good news from your side about anti-COVID vaccine getting out in the market?
So first, let me tell you that I apologize for joining late because I was involved in a very exciting initiative just launched by the government of Karnataka, which was about a platform, a pandemic response platform that has been developed by NASSCOM in collaboration with the government of Karnataka to really capture very diverse data and then use analytics and AI to actually inform us if various parts of the city, state, and country are. And this actually will allow us to unlock in a very safe and informed way. So I think this is a very, very important opportunity that we have created where, governance, government, protocols, and every citizen, every industry actually can partake in making these decisions of safe operations. Now, I think to answer your question about when will we see a vaccine, we actually are doing all this because we believe that it will take a very long time before you can actually have a safe vaccine that can be accessible to the entire country. Because we must understand that vaccine development is a very complex process. Okay? Most vaccines, even the shortest time taken for any vaccine is not less than 4 years. And now we are trying and develop a vaccine in less than a year is a very daunting and almost impossible task. Because I think I want people to understand that vaccine development involves a large number of processes where you keep wanting to establish the safety of the vaccine, the efficacy of the vaccine, and the endurance of the vaccine. For instance, it's not enough just to get a response, like you've been listening in the news items, that every vaccine maker seems to get very excited when you get a response, an immune response from a person who has been vaccinated. You know, everyone is likely to actually have an immune response to anything that is foreign, as you know. And even if you get neutralizing antibodies as a response to that particular vaccine, doesn't mean anything. Because you have seen that monkeys who had an immune response with neutralizing antibodies, when they were challenged with the virus, got infected. So you need to see what is the response, the immune response level required to endure that response, to make sure you don't get infected when you are exposed to the virus. So just to answer those kind of questions takes a very long time. Then you need to see the safety of those vaccines in a very large population base. Then you have to make sure that you have the capacity and the stockpile, that the moment a vaccine looks successful, do you have enough of vaccine to vaccinate the communities with? And no one is going to stockpile huge amounts of vaccines because you don't know which vaccine is going to work. So if you have stockpiled vaccines for a particular program, and if that program doesn't work, I think people are not prepared to make those kind of investments. So as you get to answering those questions, if you start seeing that a particular vaccine candidate is looking promising, only then are people likely to invest in manufacturing that vaccine. And to manufacture that vaccine, by the way, there are regulatory requirements which take 3 to 4 months before you can actually get approved for manufacturing that vaccine. And then to manufacture at scale and the capacity that you want will take a long time. So I think we should delude ourselves into believing that we are going to get a vaccine in the next few months. I, for one, don't believe it. And secondly, in the last week itself, the most responsible statement was made by the CEO of Merck, who actually said, look, even if we develop a vaccine in the shortest amount of time, to make it safe and reliable, I don't think we can shortcut anything less than 18 months to 2 years, which means that we should really understand that we need to deal with this pandemic for the next 2 years before we really get a reliable vaccine. If that is the case, what do we need to do? I think Sunita made a very, very important and compelling proposal that we need to invest much more in healthcare. If this pandemic has exposed one ugly truth about every country, not just India, it is about the appalling state of public and primary healthcare, the appalling state of underinvesting in healthcare. And I think she is absolutely right when she says that for India, healthcare is the next IT opportunity. Because this is a sector that needs, it's a capital intensive sector, which other sectors are not. It is a skill intensive sector, which of course other sectors also have their own skill requirements. And it is a employment generation sector where, you know, the multiplier effect that one medical job has is fourfold. And I think this must be taken into context when we are rebuilding our economy. Thirdly, I think we must also look at the future of healthcare, which is what your topic is all about. You know, we've been thrown into the deep end of the digital world, of the virtual world. Telemedicine, telehealth, e-pharmacy, and everything that is online and electronic is now a reality. We should now embrace these technologies to make us more efficient. Because today it is information and data that will allow us to predict and be proactive. So we should be able to actually use technology today, and lots of technologies are being developed in a very innovative way to basically basically use data like X-rays, data like ultrasounds, data like various things to know how serious the patient is. So instead of waiting for the patient to get into a serious state, you can actually be proactive. You can actually look at the prognosis of any and every patient and save those lives. We also need to look at what is it that can actually protect us in many ways. Is there a good therapy? Is there a good, immunization therapy that can make us stronger or less, vulnerable to this particular virus? I know that there is a trial ongoing for vaccinating people with BCG vaccines. It's not that BCG vaccine is working against the virus, but the BCG vaccine is to boost your immune system so that you can fight the virus better. We ourselves are repurposing a drug for seeing whether we can deal with severe patients. And it seems to be showing a lot of promise. Then there are other drugs that can actually be used at an early stage, which can probably help patients recover faster and so on and so forth. So I think there needs to be a very systematic, data-led approach to seeing how we can actually deal with the infection and keep people safe. So I think these are many, many things that we need to look at, where digital technologies, telehealth, telemedicine, and of course this whole opportunity of delivering universal healthcare, where Ayushman Bharat has done a great job of looking after the poorest of poor, but they need to link their tertiary care of cashless hospitalization with preventive primary care as well. And therefore their wellness centers can also serve as primary healthcare centers to basically make us aware of what is it that we need to worry about in terms of the pandemic. We all know about sanitization and hand washing, physical distancing, which is also very difficult in a country like India. But we also have things like wearing of masks, wearing of gloves by the vulnerable parts of our society, making sure that we understand and educate our people about why this is so necessary. Why should we stop spitting? Why should we stop urinating in public? All these are very important aspects. Even for the first time, I think the focus on garbage should also be brought into the limelight, because we need a clean environment. Today, I was reading an article about why certain countries have been able to ward off this viral pandemic better than others. For instance, Japan and Thailand and Vietnam, Thailand especially, have got a much cleaner, hygiene ethic in their people. Japan also has had this kind of a benefit of people being clean, their environment being clean, and they have always been wearing masks whenever there's been any outbreak of any epidemic. So these kind of things have also helped them in a big way. I think these are times for us also to educate our people and make sure that we actually come out of this much stronger, cleaner, and wiser. And I hope that this is one opportunity for us to invest in our healthcare infrastructure in a massive way, because this is what will save India and the world. I think we have realized for the first time how important health is. Health is wealth. You can see that just this one pandemic has eroded the economy in a way that we never expected. So if you don't have good health, you cannot have a good economy. And I think that recognition and realization has hit us all in a very important way. And we should not forget this.
Thank you, madam. I think we have highlighted quite a many pertinent issues, and must compliment for bringing those issues on discussion. I will connect back to you shortly, but before I do that, I think Dr. Velumani has hard stop at 12:20, and I will take the opportunity of taking a couple of questions to him. India has, somebody made a very nice remark in our opening panel today that India has developing economy income level, but developed economy disease level. India is world capital of diabetes, hypertension, and besides faced with chronics of cancer, cardio problems, so on and so forth. And in the midst of all these issues, healthcare expense is on rising trend. What measures, according to you, must be taken to achieve affordable healthcare for all? Dr. Velumani.
Right. Yeah, yes, and Dr. Kiran Shah concluded, health, if it is gone, it can erode completely the economy. There is no other evidence than what COVID has demonstrated. Having said that, in the entire world, of all the industries which have got impacted, I have a reason to believe the most positive impact will be in healthcare, and most powerful industry also will be healthcare, at least for next 20 years. We had underestimated it. We had given least importance to it, as the GDP 2% is too little for this huge 1.38 billion population. Now we need to correct it. We need to spend more, as Dr. Reddy said, that investments have to get inside. The gaps have to be understood and they have to be bridged so that, hearing or reading a news item either in a television or a newspaper, ICCU beds are full, is the ultimate that we have lost every opportunity to save lives. So this is something which we have gone to an extreme. I believe we have learned a lot. Coming back to what is that will make healthcare affordable, as Dr. Kiran Shah said, using technologies, using digital, making it reachable to nooks and corners of the country, all district headquarters of the country, taluk headquarters of the country, which will make volumes more, volumes will make costs less, and operations will become much, much more efficient if technologies are very widely used. As I see, COVID is going to be another opportunity in the healthcare industry, because suddenly we have no business in non-COVID and we see a business in COVID. And as Madam said, the vaccine is not around for at least another 24 months. And we must believe that we have to manage it without any support of anything. That means it's a huge challenge in hand, and all challenges are opportunities in hand. Unfortunately, the healthcare system is suddenly seen as money-making by entire media. It has been a little more stressful to even engage a client and give service to him. To that extent, it is currently very disturbed. But I'm pretty sure this will ease out once lockdown moves out. And it will ease out once the panic level comes down. Today, more is not the disease, the more is the panic which causes the damage. So we believe that things should become fairly all right by another couple of months period. And healthcare, as I said, will be the most powerful industry. A lot of investment will come inside, and all investors are waiting for something to settle so that they can look at how many hospitals we must have, how many diagnostic centers we must have. And let me tell you, though it appears that healthcare is huge capex driven, looking at the potentials of it, looking at the profits in it, that is all worth it. And looking at the employment opportunities it can create, it is worth for the government as well as the investors and the corporates to look at healthcare afresh and look at scalable models, look at networked models, look at volume models, look at efficient models. What will not survive is less efficient hospitals and laboratories. So make the laboratories highly efficient so that the customer benefits and the investors too benefit.
Sure. Dr. Velumani, I think Kiran Madam has made a very valid point on some of the advanced technologies, tools being available in terms of point of care, in terms of wearables coming out in the market and checking, health symptoms being at home. I think gone are the days where perhaps patients need to go to the labs and have testing of BP, blood sugar, etc. to be done. So it will have, I think, a lot of disruptions in diagnosis, sector. What, according to you, the sector per se must do in response to the technological advancements? Is Indian industry ready to take the kind of, most of the benefit out of it, or it is likely to face disruption?
No, certainly healthcare industry will not face any disruption. Today it is temporarily disrupted because of lockdown and the Epidemics Act. Otherwise, even today, healthcare would have been doing extremely good. But having said that, there are two segments in healthcare. The then existing non-COVID, that is lifestyle disorder dominated healthcare. Now emerging COVID, which is infection-dominated segment. I have a reason to believe the entire healthcare industry will get bifurcated into COVID and non-COVID. There will be COVID hospitals, there will be non-COVID hospitals, and the fear of getting infection will make sure people will not enter into COVID hospital if they have non-COVID problems, which says that the industry will get doubled in its infrastructure, doubled in number of hospitals. So there is a huge opportunity. Coming back to wearables, wearables are largely for lifestyle disorders, and wearables less likely to help in infection except giving you the temperature part of it. And the point of care testing also largely only in diabetes and some disorders. As of now, point of care testing is hardly any percentage wise total healthcare industry. What will work out is in diagnostics specifically, I'm not talking about the hospital side, in diagnostics, there should be in each and every taluk headquarters at 300, 500 square feet laboratory, 2000 square feet laboratory, which does everything by one collection. And whatever easiest is done at taluk headquarters level and whatever is little difficult will come to district headquarters level. What will be very difficult will come to state headquarters level. This kind of a pyramid needs to be worked out so that diagnostics become affordable, accessible, and all laboratories must be accredited adequately so that the quality is assured for the management of diseases and disorders. I'm a very positive man. People are looking at number of infections and getting every day breaking news. All positive patients had not only one breaking news, they had all channels breaking their news. I want all of us to understand in a Western world, if there are 300 deaths per million, India has not touched 3 deaths per million. And the death per million is supposed to be the core focus, not the infections. Of course, infection will result into focusing on deaths. But if we have reached to an ICCU completely full, that means we have failed in creating adequate infrastructure. Even in this 150 days, the virus has given us time. Afterwards, we are into that trouble. So, of course, I'm not blaming anyone. As I said, panic when it takes over, leadership dies. And many of the leaders under panic, they can't work, be it private or public, be it healthcare or otherwise. So coming to your question and my wish to mention that healthcare will be very promising industry and healthcare will be highly profitable industry, even not without increasing the cost, because increase of volumes will increase the profits. More players will be there, more competition will be there. Don't cap it. Allow people to compete. And today, after competition, there has been a wonderful system made, and it will create such a system where rich will go to costly locations, middle class will go to moderate cost locations, poor will go to that locations where they can afford. So having said that, I want to conclude that healthcare will have a wonderful future for next 20 years, growing double than any other industry.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Velumani. I think
yes. Thank you.
Quite well noted. I think Kiran ma'am, you have made a very encouraging remark, so to say, that we should think beyond COVID and connecting the the discussion to the theme in terms of being future ready. And also, I think Dr. Reddy made a mention of going digital. So I'm connecting these two dots and bringing the question to maybe Kiran madam, and then of course I'll invite Dr. Reddy's views. That you made a remark that average time to bring a molecule from discovery through to launch, not necessarily in terms of COVID, but there's a more of a general any development is quite long. As per research, I think average at times it goes beyond a decade, and very, very costly, and yet 1 out of thousands only faced success. Whereas there are some advancements in AI-based machine learning technologies where they claim that some of the molecules from test to market can be possible only in days time, for example. So there's a new wave of technology companies being the next pharma companies. AI and machine learning would make perhaps the next, drug research and recovery. In your view, is Indian pharma industry geared up to adopt innovation? Are they ready in terms of taking on with this technology companies, getting on to pharma companies, or are they likely to face disruption?
I think, the use of technology in drug discovery and drug development is something which is recent. And I think every company in the world is trying to embrace technology to basically shrink the timelines of discovery and development. And Indian companies are also in the fray for doing this. I think, in fact, Indian companies are in a much better position because of the software skills that we have in the country and the huge, cost advantage that we have in terms of using digital technologies and software. I think what we must understand is that the whole drug development or drug discovery and development process, which takes a long time, has to innovate from a regulatory point of view. So I think the regulatory pathway needs to have parallel processing instead of sequential processing. And the only way of doing parallel processing is to be able to mitigate the risks of parallel processing, as opposed to, say, the way the sequential process runs, because you don't get to the next step until you know that this step has gone. Whereas in parallel processing, if you spend a lot of money and then you find that it's not working, you have spent a lot of money. And you would have had to kill the project by spending a lot of money in a parallel processing scenario than in a sequential processing scenario. But the fact of the matter is, today, data does allow you to do parallel processing very efficiently.
I think there's some connectivity issue at her end. So Dr. Reddy, your views quickly on this?
So my views is really, yes, technology is here to stay. And you were earlier talking about disruption. But for us in healthcare, it's not disruption. It's about evolution that we need to be prepared for. And clearly, we were never thinking only about physical infrastructure. So if you look at the entire Apollo ecosystem, where we have the pharmacies and we have online delivery of pharmaceuticals, we have the testing that Dr. Velumani spoke about, which is really point of care. We go to patients' homes and do the testing. The third important part of what Apollo has started is the entire digital healthcare space. And here, Kiran spoke about telemedicine. But today we've moved to a platform where we're doing 1,000 telemedicine consults. So this has really moved the point of care away from just the hospitals to the home. So we also have mobile care, which is, we are doing mobile testing. We are doing mobile care where you can use your phone to actually use something where you can take a digital X-ray. We're using digital X-rays and we're able to view it on our phone, which is an Android instrument, with a great level of accuracy where people are able to make a diagnosis. But I think it's important here to state that there has to be some democratization of healthcare. So while we are worried about data privacy, we believe that the government has to encourage this sort of care, because with this, for example, there is something called a mobile ultrasound called Caterpillar AI, which allows us to take not only, so on the one hand, we have digital X-rays at home, but now we can do ultrasounds. We can have mobile vans that can do ultrasounds and take it to, to the underserved population of India. When we reach this level, we combine the data collection, the diagnosis, and overlay it with all that we've learned with AI. I think we can really come out with ways for prescriptive care, for personalized care. And really, I think that this is the future of medicine. It is about mobiles. It is about telemedicine. It is about the data that comes from this, and it's also about creating an AI platform that will help us to prescribe. But let me say that having done all this, and I think all forms of healthcare, whether it's allopathy, homeopathy, or Ayurvedic, recognize the importance of having the physical infrastructure where you can actually not only see a patient, but you're able to perform the surgical procedures, which is very much part of the whole NCDs, which is about 50 to 60% of the healthcare needs of India.
Thank you so much. Kiran, madam, you are there? Eric, I think there are a lot of questions. Would you like to pose quickly one or two questions?
Sure. This has been a really, really interesting discussion. Thanks again for everyone joining us so far. So two questions I'd like to ask now from the audience, both having to do with the government's role and how we move forward. So the first question is really about the state of the hospitals. So this current pandemic has unearthed the dismal situation of public hospital infrastructure in many countries, particularly in India. So now that we know how the hospital situation can stand up against a pandemic like this, when thinking about some practical solutions for moving forward, while balancing both the need to provide healthcare and pandemics like this, with also the cost and the realistic resources intensive and needs, what do you think are some measures that the government and industry should take right now to overcome the medical infrastructure paralysis, both in this situation with COVID-19 and to prepare for the next pandemic? And this is open to all of the panelists.
So shall I start?
Yeah, please. I think.
Yeah. So I think it's, yes, this is top of the mind, not only among people, but among the press. So I'm thankful to have the opportunity to address this. So if you look at the COVID pandemic, first, I'd like to state that, COVID in particular, if you look at China, it is a 47th cause of death in India, which is why when you look at private healthcare and public healthcare, today it might be the thing that's foremost on our mind, but we must not forget that healthcare operators have to also look after the sick, which is 60% coming from oncology, orthopedics, cardiology, strokes. So we need to be prepared to deal with this because they are the highest cause of death. And second thing, when you look at COVID, of the 100 people that get COVID, about 30% of them will need hospitalization. So we need to prepare for hospitalization of the 30% that will require this. And out of that, only 15 to 20% will require ventilators and acute interventions. So let me take Bombay as a city where, we've seen so many COVID cases. And let's look at our response. So Bombay, for example, has 30,000 hospital beds. They have a pretty good healthcare infrastructure. In that 30,000 hospital beds, there are about 15,000 in the government space. There are about only 6,000 in the corporate healthcare space. And the rest are actually, there are about 12,000 in the government space. The rest are about 18,000 private nursing homes. So no one has ever considered opening out the private nursing homes for use during COVID. Instead, these private nursing homes are suffering. They're not able to pay their bills, but yet they have doctors, they have nurses, they have, some of them have ICUs and ventilators. So I think we need to look at a new perspective, a new dimension about how we can use all of India's healthcare infrastructure. And if you look at India at large, we have 80,000 private nursing homes, which have not been utilized. Instead, they've been shut because of COVID. And it is really likely that, we work with governments. So health also is a state subject. It's not a national subject. So each state is mandating different ways to handle the situation. We need to come out with a cohesive policy on how we handle this. And that would be, I think it would help each, the country, it would help each of the states if we manage to pool together all our resources. With regard to the price, let me state this. I think we've been very transparent in our pricing. You have to understand that, you know, in a private, when people come to the private healthcare system, there is already a fixed cost base, which is higher than the government, which is not higher than the government. The government actually has subsidized care. So we are not subsidized. In fact, if you look at private healthcare, let me start by saying that we pay taxes, we pay GST, we pay higher salaries than the government for our doctors because they're on a fee-for-service model. The fourth is the higher level of taxation. For example, we are paying customs duty and we are losing because of exchange rates on all the imports. So if you look at what is required in the treatment protocol of COVID, not only are the test kits imported, the PPEs that we have in stock are all imported. We also have all the medication that is used for the COVID treatment protocol. All of it is imported. So we are not subsidized. We are paying taxes and we are bearing the burden of high customs duty and an exchange rate, a double whammy of the exchange rate going against us, which has made the cost of treatment really high. And I think if you weigh this against the work that is being done by the private sector, it is really incomparable because truly, you know, a nurse and a doctor going out there to treat a COVID patient, it is truly priceless. And I'm surprised that the press has made this an opportunity to talk about something that that they should really, you know, be supportive of.
That's a very, very wonderful, comprehensive, detailed answer. I particularly love the part where you're talking about, you know, this underutilized resource where you had the nursing homes example. And it's always such a travesty when you see, you know, it's one thing to not have resources to help people, but when we have resources and they're underutilized, it's really heartbreaking. And actually, it's a good opportunity for innovation, you know, for the tech world, startups to look at innovative ways where we can, you know, have platforms that could help while following regulations, connect the resources that are available with the needs. I mean, innovation at its core isn't about creating something new. It's about finding a way to leverage what we have for a new outcome. And so I think it's a good opportunity there. There's another, I saw you started to share the screen, but we have another audience question related to that. It's actually a good follow-up. Mahavir, is it okay to ask another question?
I think actually we are running out of time, so maybe we'll take offline. Questions are very many, they are flooding in numbers, but I'll just take one, you know, representative question, last question, concluding one, taking brains of Dr. Reddy. Yesterday, Minister talked about, you know, India serving as pharmacy of the world. There are large aspirations, you know, of the entrepreneurs, of the industry, entire ecosystem. What one final takeaway you would like to give to Indian pharma entrepreneurs and industry players to tap this opportunity to withstand all pressures, face disruptions? That one final takeaway so that they can contribute in India getting served or serving as pharmacy of the world.
So yes, I think Kiran would have been really appropriate to answer that question. What India does, and I think some people have called it jugaad, but it's a unique value proposition. So whether it's creating biosimilars, whether it's creating generic medicine, we are clearly the pharmacy. We are the pharmacy of the world. We are more than just drug makers. I think with the clinical protocols that we establish, we're moving behind. beyond just supplying drugs to the world. But I would like to say this, that even in healthcare, what we are doing at 1/10 of the cost. So I believe that we are creating an industry that can be emulated around the world. We are serving countries in Southeast Asia. We are serving countries in Africa. And that shows from the fact that 10% of our population, 10% of our revenues are coming from the overseas. I believe that this will continue to happen, that people will come to India because we have a very unique value proposition. It's not about cheap, it's about great clinical outcomes at 1/10 of the cost. So whether it's in the healthcare industry, whether it's in testing or labs, or whether it's in the pharmaceutical place, or whether it's in innovation, where we're moving, where digital is changing, with 1,000 teleconsults a day, telemedicine, that we're making geography, history. It's clearly about a value proposition that exists for the consumer.
Thank you so much. I think enlightening us on topics across the spectrum, and very, very useful. Would have loved if we have had more time, but maybe we'll circle back to you with some of the questions. So we'll take questions from Eric separately, and then we'll request if you can take some time out and respond. We have fantastic lineup of some of the select technologies which can be useful for pharma healthcare. So would request if you can be with us for some more time. Amit, you are there?
Yes, Bobby, I'm there. Thank you, Dr. Sunita, for being such a great panelist here. I mean, some of the thoughts which you, Kiran ma'am, and Dr. Velumani kind of showered the panel audience is kind of really impactful and really meaningful in the current context what we're doing it. We have been talking about innovation. We have been talking about the need for embrace telemedicine to AI to things. What we are trying to do also is that we have 6 startups now who have some kind of a solution which is very relevant in the current context of the things, and we would want to give them a 3-minute time to present their solution. And then we would be taking the questions, couple of questions to them in terms of what does that mean in terms of the industry using the solutions or applications of those. So if you have some time, then we would be really helpful for you to be here, and we can begin with that. I think we'll also be joined by Nilesh Jain. Nilesh, are you there? Who would also be more looking at the startups and asking the panel discussions. So we are there, right? We can begin with the startup. So without wasting any time, we would begin with the startup discussions. Do we have the first one?
Hey,
yeah,
hey everyone.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm very good. Thanks, Amit. Let me share my screen very quickly.
Sure.
Hey everyone, it's nice to be here. Thanks for this opportunity. So my name is Sid Chakravarti. I'm the founder and CEO of StatBig. I'm here to present our product Vaccine Ledger. Vaccine Ledger is a supply chain management tool that tracks the vaccine all the way from the manufacturer through the distributors, to the retail, and finally to the end consumer. In most cases, it's a child. So we are funded by UNICEF, and we've been working with Gavi for the last couple of years, and we've been using our product in multiple geographies all around the world to track vaccines. What we do different is we track every single product in the supply chain at a unit level. What that means is every vial of vaccine or a bottle of could be any other drug gets a unique QR code that is used as an identifier, and we record the complete journey of the product from start to finish. Information such as chain of custody, temperature, it's stored in, also like pickup times, warehouse times. So a lot of information that we collect. The idea, so we also incorporate aggregation and disaggregation. So in supply chains, a common thing that happens is product gets bundled and then they get fragmented into smaller pieces. So we have a mechanism to capture that data without having to do individual scans of every single vial of vaccine. So an aggregated scan, we reduce the number of scans that are required to capture the data. These are some of the, we're mainly working in the vaccine space because of our relationship with UNICEF and Gavi. And these are some of the manufacturers and distributors that we work with today. And what we essentially solving for manufacturers is an interesting problem. So today, after they sell the products, they have no idea where their products are, when are they moving, what condition they are in, if they are getting expired somewhere. So we provide them deep insights into the supply chain, even when the product is not under their custody. So they get to know, they get to predict and prevent failures. They can do proper recalls and also do a better forecasting of demand. For the distributors, these are the people who are paying for these products. So they want to ensure that the products are safe and there's no wastage. With vaccines, there's a 35% failure. With a lot of cold chain products, that's the same case. So we ensure that the products are in good quality and securely stored and transported. So what we provide, is very advanced features using machine learning and artificial intelligence. So we can predict a lot of failures that could happen in the supply chain and prevent them. We can do route optimizations, do demand forecasting. So these are some of the very critical aspects which can tremendously improve efficiency for our clients. So our work in vaccines has been taking a good shape, I think. So we are right now also focused on working with our partners and clients on the COVID-19 vaccines as well, because as everyone knows, they will be out next year, but there won't be enough for everyone. So it's a huge supply chain challenge that we are going to face next year. So I think we are getting equipped with to tackle some of those challenges as well. So I want to end here.
Sid,
and yeah.
Sid, a couple of questions. I think this was a very impressive stuff which you guys are doing. A couple of questions for the benefit of the audience.
Sure.
When we compare, doing the tagging based on your mechanism and just doing it vis-a-vis some of the other solutions which are available, what is the differentiation which a manufacturer or a distributor will be able to kind of get, and what is the value proposition in terms of cost saving or maybe better efficiency? What is something which you do in terms of, can you quantify that so to give them a perspective?
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks, Amit, for asking. So tagging is basically what the reason why we do tagging is to identify a product at a unit level. What we add after that is a layer of data collection and data intelligence. So that's where the true value proposition lies for the end consumers. So we not only use the QR codes for tagging, but also for far expensive products, we also have IoT tags, which provide more real-time or near real-time information about where the products are and what condition they are in. So, and we also record this data on a blockchain.
So do you want to just go over the features? Do you want to talk about the benefit they will get directly? So, since for the want of time, I would want you to be direct.
Sure. Sure. So with other solutions, you can't track the product after it's sold. That's basically what it is. So you have to rely on your distributors. You have to call them, and in some cases, you have to buy that data from your distributor. So we provide that in real time.
Perfect. Nilesh, do you have any questions before we move on to the next startup?
Yeah, just one quick question. Are you planning to move beyond the vaccines? Because primarily it seems your technology is for track and trace, which is pretty important for a lot of Class A drugs or prescribed drugs.
Yes, absolutely. So we are using vaccines industry as a validation tool. So we have achieved. So we are actually very interested in other areas.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sid. Nice work. And we'll move to the next startup. Thank you. For the audience, if you want to kind of know more about Statwig, please vote on the poll so that we can then do a detailed demo link for you if you were interested in kind of understanding more about them. Sure. Let's go to the next startup.
Hi everyone. Hi Amit. Can you hear me well?
We can.
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you for having me. I'm going to share my screen now. So let me get this working. So, well, thanks for having me. Good morning or no, good afternoon
morning,
for you.
Yeah. Go ahead.
For me, it's morning. So we are SACE. We are a German company. I'm Jose. I'm co-founder and CEO of the company. We're a German company, actually. We discovered a problem a decade ago or so that has to do with the healthcare industry. And you might all know this, but the average spending on healthcare services at least in the OECD countries is 8.8% of the GDP. In India, it's 3.8. And in every country, it's getting bigger, the number, because population is getting older. They get more access to wealth as well. And healthcare costs are getting bigger as well. But the problem resides where the healthcare provider are still solving the problem, are still caring for patients using really outdated systems. Paper-based system, mostly what we have found in emerging markets. Excel spreadsheets, which is mostly the same, or when they have deeper pockets, they go with old and expensive technology, which is not mobile first, where basically in the 21st century, everything is mobile first. So that's part of the problem. In our journey, we've discovered that as clinics grow, complexity increases as well. So when you have a full-fledged clinical operation, you have electronic healthcare record, ERP, CRMs, even the vaccine tool we just saw, they are all working on silos, right? So that's why we came up with a product that's called Medinet that helps to run a full unified clinical operation. It is a workflow-based system that allows to integrate clinical processes and management processes. And that means also other systems in a really open manner, right? What are the benefits? Basically to increase revenue and profit. Optimize asset utilization, for one thing, generate control over the stock of medicine, items, whatever, you name it, to increase patient loyalty towards your brand. We have also CRMs, contact centers with WhatsApp. And this is very important to reduce report preparation time, because right now you have to spend 5 days preparing a report for the healthcare ministry, for example, but when you have everything unified, it's just a few clicks or a few hours of work, and that's it. And at the end of the day, that delivers complete control over the income and a competitive edge over other players. We have more than 60 clients by the day up to now. We are operating in emerging markets from Germany. We are based in Germany. We operate in Mexico, in Chile. As of yesterday, actually, we closed with Guatemala as well. They are very similar countries. So that's why we can move fast there in that region, and Colombia within the next 4 months. And we did 2021 with the help of German accelerator that allow us to got the contact here to get into India, Thailand, and Vietnam. And well, that's basically it. So thank you for hearing. That's my contact number.
Thanks. That's a nice concept. Just a couple of questions, and I can move to from audience perspective. Does this software tool which you have needs to be integrated with the existing medical softwares that do it, and how far those APIs will be able to kind of get integrated, or do they need to operate as a separate unit? That is one challenge which I have seen mainly to integrate, and integration time takes long. So do you have any perspective on that?
Yeah. So it's a big difference, the one we have with other players, the one I mentioned, that are legacy. What they do is basically tell you, or either you use my whole system or you don't use it. Can you hear me? I don't know if I...
We can hear you. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so what we do basically, if you like your scheduling system and you have it already, let's integrate it. So what we do basically is to help you integrate processes, right? So that's the main difference. We have a motor for integration, an integration motor, which runs HL7 on one part. It's Nomad CT as well, but if you have a system that does not use, I don't know, HL7 Fire, for example, the one we use, we can sort it out. We've done really, really weird integration, so it's part of the job.
And you'll be able to support that from Germany itself. I mean, it is a
do-it-yourself
tool.
Yeah, well, we are actually right now, we just finished a 5-week program in India. We're looking for, that's why we are participating in here. We're looking for partners there to adapt the product first, because every region is different, of course. And to provide on-site support as well, because time difference and everything, it's totally different, yes.
Lish, do you have any question?
I think, Amit, you asked the questions about integration. Also, from a price point perspective, the industry is highly competitive and there are a lot of players. How do you differentiate yourselves with the existing players in the industry?
Yeah. So up until now, what we've been providing the service as a vendor based. But what we are doing now is changing, and we're changing our clients, and they love it, is that we are, instead of selling modules and users, that's what the industry does, we're starting to move to a transaction-based system. So basically, we do not charge you anymore for a new module, for example. We just give it for you for free, because if you sell more, if you have more movement in your clinic, that means that we have more transactions and we earn more money as well. And that allows us to become a partner more than a vendor. That's what we're after. We, in healthcare, we believe, we truly believe it has to be a long-term commitment, because these systems are really core and really important.
Got it. So basically, it's take the module, run the operations. It's totally free. Just integrate it, and then pay as you use it. Perfect. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
There's a good potential for you to be in India, and we'll look how we can help. How can
anyone who can get in touch, I'm open. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Shall we move to the next one, DigiBings?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Praveen from DigiBings. I'll share my screen.
Sure.
Yeah. So is it visible? My screen is visible?
Yeah, we can see that.
Yeah. Hi. So I'm Praveen from startup DigiBings, based out of Hyderabad. So we are into developing AI-powered virtual humans. So IRA is our first AI assistant in healthcare sector. So what is a digital human? 65% of the human communication is non-verbal, which includes human gestures, facial expressions, and body language. Whereas current interfaces which we use daily, like Alexa, Siri, or even chatbots, are completely verbal. So a digital human is a CGI character that looks like a human, which can speak both verbally and non-verbally, which allows us to build more trust and emotional connection with users more than our old user interfaces. Digital humans can be accessed over mobile, desktop, VR devices, or kiosks, or even they can be attached to double robotics robots so that they can become mobile and move inside hospitals or offices. We believe there is a huge potential for digital humans in healthcare sector. So that's why we started IRA, which is a digital healthcare coach. So it can act as a cardiac coach, cancer coach. It can help in providing low-level mental health interventions. It can provide remote monitoring facilities. It can help in diet. It can improve patient adherence and also provide elderly care. In pharma sector, it can also include in patient support programs. And for both hospital and pharma companies, a virtual human can act as a virtual influencer representing their brand on social media channels. So recently, companies like P&G, Boston Consulting Group have also adopted virtual humans to represent their brand on social channels. So far, we partnered with University of Southern California. We are currently using their technology, which they have been developing from last 15 years. And so we developed a conversational prototype so far, and we recently received a data corpus from Mary Johnson from Australia, who developed first healthcare assistant for Australian government, and she had a lot of data, clinically validated data. So far we received this data, and we also doing few more collaborations. Especially we are receiving SDK from Israel-based startup which will allow us to monitor essential signals like heart rate, oxygen saturation level, respiration levels, using only mobile camera without the need of any other particular device. We are also partnering with other researchers in vocal biometrics, which will allow us to, diagnose chronic diseases in health, in cardiology and neurology, using only vocal biometrics. So if any company is interested in demos, please contact digibeings@gmail.com. Thank you very much.
Nilesh, do you have any question? Nilesh, you're on mute.
Yes. Hi. So I think we've interacted before. My quick question is, given the market in India, the technology that you're bringing is just amazing. Being in the healthcare space, this is unbelievable. The question to you is, how would you monetize this, given the markets in India, and also kind of your ramp-up plan for international markets?
Yeah, so basically we work like a development company. So because each client might have a different requirement, some client might and might be willing to use basically maybe in mental health care, some client might be using in cardiac course. So it's more like a co-design process where we work with different hospitals, different healthcare companies, and develop different cases or different virtual humans for different companies. And we will charge more on a SaaS-based model and fixed development fees initially, and that's how we are going to work. Yeah.
Fantastic. Great model.
Do you have multilingual capacity? I mean, are you in just English, or are you going to be in multiple languages in India?
No, so initially it will be in English, but we are speaking to a few more companies who are working on like Indian languages, like so we can use their APIs and so that we can include more Indian languages very soon. But initially it will be in English.
Perfect. Thanks a lot. We'll move to the next one, and who we have next?
Hi, Sanket here.
Hi, Sanket.
I'm just sharing my screen.
Sure.
Yeah, I hope you are able to see the screen.
Yeah, we are.
All right, guys. So I'm Sanket, founder of this company called Elixia Tech. And what are we? We are a tech company mainly focusing on supply chain automation, digitalizing supply chain processes, reducing costs, and bringing visibility in outbound logistics. We are already associated with about 353 customers now, mainly focusing on cold chain. So if we consider pharma companies, there are several cold chain materials being sent from manufacturing hub to distributors. We are the ones who actually bring in visibility using temperature sensors. We are headquartered in Mumbai with a team strength of about 62 and customer presence in India and few other countries. If you consider outbound logistics, there are several challenges which usually supply chain heads face. There is no control on costs. There is temperature non-compliance for products being sent all across. There is weak supply chain planning. There is high reliability on Excel sheets. There is heavy manual intervention. So what we do is, as soon as items are manufactured in plant till it reaches distributor, we bring in control and visibility as such, thereby eliminating operational and cost slippages. So this is the entire supply chain control tower which we have built, wherein there is no manual intervention which is required. It's split into pre-transit, in-transit, and post-transit phases. Pre-transit is mainly into supply chain planning for outbound logistics. In-transit helps us bring visibility through GPS-based vehicle telematics, bringing intelligence through the devices which are installed in refrigerated vehicles. And post-transit is mainly into the billing platform. These are the few customers who we are associated with. Few of them are, if we consider pharma and healthcare, Baxter, PerkinElmer, Sanofi Pharma uses our solution in India and in few other countries. Few highlights of the solution, one being the load optimization tool, wherein we let customers know how many vehicles to procure and what type of vehicles to procure based on the item dimensions and item weight and vehicle load capacity and vehicle dimension. So whether to procure 32 feeters or 32 feeters and 440 feeters will do the job, saving costs on heavy vehicle utilization. Our strength lies in cold chain, wherein we install temperature sensors or temperature probes along with GPS devices, helping us not only monitor real-time location, but also real-time temperature of the refrigerated vehicle. And in case of temperature conflict, we send alerts. In case of trips, we send temperature compliance reports. We do this for refrigerated vehicles as well as cold rooms. If we consider business impact, there are several case studies I have. I'll be more than happy to share those with you. But then for one of the very big pharma company, we saved almost about 2 crore now over the period of 1 year by using this solution. So the rate per ton, which usually is the metric of supply chain head, got down to about 150 rupees per ton. We already are in the cohort of supply chain labs by Loomis Partners, and we landed up being in top 5 in Food Loss Challenge Asia in 2018. That is what Elixia is all about.
Thank you, Sanket. I think this is a need of an hour. Supply chain is broken currently with the COVID times, and obviously tracking, understanding there are no wastages. If you can improve the process, Elixia kind of plays an important role.
Sure.
Again, one very specific, easy question, but very fundamental to the industry. Is this a standalone solution, or it can be integrated with the existing SAPs or the system which the corporates are using, so that there are no two communications?
Yeah, so for a lot of FMCG and pharma companies, we have already integrated the solution with the legacy systems like SAP, Oracle, JDA, and others, pulling information and then bringing intelligence, sending it back to the systems already.
So you have already done that, so it is easily replicable for any of the corporates who want to do that.
Correct, Amit.
Perfect. Mahavir, Nilesh, if you have any specific
questions. Quick question. Amazing. I'm pretty impressed with the kind of customers you have and kind of the value proposition case studies you've done so far. I'm assuming the network part of your entire ecosystem is quite adaptable to whatever protocols are existing. Can you shed some more light on how you're adopting your technology across different geographies and across different network conditions?
Okay, so so it is agnostic to the network conditions as such. We are already present in Vietnam, Indonesia, Philippines, and India. Few customers in Egypt and Australia as well, mainly focusing on India because it's very unstructured here. The entire logistics and supply chain is unstructured. Currently, the focus is on outbound logistics only, be it line haul or be it milk run or be it imports and exports. We are the ones who actually automate the supply chain processes and digitalize, helping customers. It's agnostic, it's geography agnostic, it's ideally industry agnostic, but our focus is on FMCG and pharma mainly.
Fantastic, thank you.
So one more question, Sanket. So all does it need a dependency on the supply, the cold storage companies or the trucking companies, etc., should be able to kind of integrate your solutions in the solutions, or do you have partnership with them already? So that so the question is that if I want to use your solution and if I have say 50 truckloads going every day, will I be able to monitor only 20 who have kind of adopted your solution, and the balance 30 will not be able to do it because they are not doing it because it is an unstructured market? Or will I be able to see 100% of my truckloads going in, because even though I'm using multiple customers or multiple vendors?
Sure. So my customers like Mondelez, Nestle, Ferrero, FMCG, and even pharma like Sanofi, they are the ones who use my solution, and they see 100% temperature visibility. They get temperature visibility for all their trips because they make it a compulsion for transporters to use Elixia's platform, either Elixia's devices, or if the devices are of some other company, we integrate and we pull it on our platform. So it's 100% visibility which these companies get.
Thank you. I think that is a very relevant answer for most of the corporates here. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Good job.
Thanks, Amit.
Who we have next?
Hi, my name is Arup.
Arup, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Arup Dole and I am from Arinesan Healthcare. Let me share my screen with you.
Sure.
Innovation Healthcare is an ecosystem that works in niche healthcare gaps in dialysis. It is established in 2019 August, and we are already DIPP registered, recognized. We have patented product, ISO certification, as well as our product across the CE certification of medical devices. You know, there are 850 million of dialysis patients all over the world. And in India, the situation is more worse. As per Government of India data, we have 36 million of dialysis sessions pending. And we are adding 24 million dialysis sessions each and every year. While analyzing the situation, we found that dialysis need to reach to tier 2, tier 3, even in rural area. That's because patients need to reach to metropolitan cities and traveling time and cost is greater than the treatment cost. So it is better to reach to the patient side the dialysis treatment. The further if we analyze, we found that every dialysis machine is portable. But what about the water treatment system? In water treatment system, dialysis, it needs a 100 square feet area. So our solution is that we make that 100 square feet area into a 3.5 square feet portable water treatment systems. So we can deliver water dialysis grade at patient's bedside anywhere in the world. At the same time, you know, there is a scarcity in dialysis as because nephrologist versus patient ratio is very, very, very poor. So we made a platform, dialysis GPS, that patient, nephrologist, as well as dialysis center can interact with each other and can access each other's service. We already found the impact. We reached to the ICU where there is no water, so you can do an ICU dialysis. We reached to the tier 2, tier 3 cities, and in the COVID situation, if a dialysis patient, if converted to COVID positive, you cannot take that patient into the normal dialysis centers. So you have to treat him in COVID center. In the COVID Pharmexcil center, how you will get water for dialysis. So this portable system is useful to give COVID center dialysis. One of the state government is doing with us, particularly. At the same time, we are promoting to the home dialysis so that patients should not be infected while going to the dialysis at the hospital in COVID. They should get treatment at home itself. At the same time, hospital also can use the dialysis center facility as a COVID treatment or other treatment. It is a self-sustainable, we're profitable, huge potential market for medical devices, Indian as well as export, low-cost solution, socio-economic impact. We have nephrologist backup. At the same time, we already acquired Bengal government. I said Bengal government, and we made a partner and did a COVID dialysis unit. Neotech Healthcare is using our solution, Railway Hospital, New Delhi, and Tirupati Hospital. So we are giving solution to them. If you found this interesting, please discuss.
Some interesting stuff you're doing. Congratulations for doing that stuff. Do you want to give some more background about the team behind who has built this, just to understand the kind of dynamics of the team, which is
yeah. But as per team, as I said, I am the founder, and I have 17 years of experience in national and international business on dialysis. I work in Fresenius Medical Care and Nephro corporations before starting this startup. So I have, along with me, I have my co-founder. He is from medical research, and we have a team of engineers, almost 7, and nephrologists, almost 2 nephrologists for clinical supports. At the same time, some technicians, dialysis technicians, you know, who give the clinical support. So overall 9 to 10 people who are giving. At the same time, we have factory. In the factory, we have near about 10 people.
You have a factory or a unit where you can build this. What is the capacity currently?
Currently, we can build 1 per day, 30 per month. Yep.
Perfect.
I think I have a question. Yeah, I have a question here. This is very close to my heart. You're solving a very complex problem, and congratulations. You know, it's pretty impressive that you've started pilots in the space. You know, dialysis, and especially home dialysis, is super critical in this, and especially in India. And access to care, you know, at that point becomes very difficult. You know, one question I had is, one of the challenges that we've seen is to identify when is the right time to actually get a patient to a dialysis, right? How do you actually identify that? And are you looking at, you know, some sort of tools and technologies to help patients really identify the right time so they can get the treatment? Because most of the cases, the treatment does not come on time.
No. We are not solving that. We're not solving that. Our platform can solve only if a dialysis patient is already there and he want to book or contact with nephrologist or hospitals, that we can help them to get treatment.
Good, that's good. One more question I had for our audience is, how many cities in India are you operational right now? What is your plan of expansion? Because I'm pretty sure there are a lot of hospitals who would look for a solution like yours.
We are now operating in India and Delhi right now, at Hyderabad also.
Fantastic.
Within 6 months, our plan is to go for pan-India as well as export also.
Fantastic.
Perfect.
So the product has a global capability, so I'm sure that we can get at the global.
Fantastic. Thanks.
Thank you. Who we have next? I think last but not the least, we have Silip.
Yeah, Cyclops. Hi. Niranjan here from Cyclops. Let me just share my screen.
Hey, Niranjan.
Hey, Niresh.
Thank you. We had a long day today and appreciate your patience, and also appreciate the patience of all the audience who have stuck with us on this Saturday morning. Thank you. Thank you for all your time. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, Niranjan.
Yeah. So, so we work on eye tracking technology for healthcare diagnosis. So primarily, we see the human brain through the eyes. So a lot of things that happen in the brain and the vestibular system shows up in the movement of the pupil. So that's the fundamental science behind which we are building products. So see, there are more than 1 billion patients worldwide suffering from medical conditions like vertigo, epilepsy, migraine, concussion, Alzheimer's, and 20 plus similar conditions. So there is a common thread which links all these ailments. Apart from causing significant physical, psychological, social, and financial disturbance to the patient, all these diseases present signature manifestations in the movement of the pupil. Now, different movements point to different regions in the brain and the vestibular system, which might be performing poorly. So we have built a core technology which can actually accurately capture the pupil position, point of gaze, and the head position. And we are developing stacks of products based on this core technology for multiple disorders. So the first product that we have built, Balance Eye, is used to find out the root cause of dizziness in balance disorders. It has applications in neurology, ENT, and audiology. So essentially, it's a 3-tiered solution. There's a custom-built hardware, which is a pair of eye tracking goggles, which captures the pupil images. And then there's an image processing layer, which extracts values from these pupil images. And there's a machine learning module on the cloud, which analyzes these values. So the workflow is pretty simple. A patient goes to the clinic, the doctor dispenses or makes the patient wear the device, sit in front of a screen, follow a set of instructions, or follow a set of visual and non-visual stimuli. The goggles capture the pupil movement, push it to the desktop where we run image processing. Data is extracted, sent to the cloud, where first level of analysis is done through our machine learning models, which is reviewed by a team of trained clinicians, and reports are sent back. So this is the workflow. It's a pretty simple workflow. We have about 250 installations in 70 cities across 7 countries now, predominantly in India. About 85 to 88% of those are in India. More than 70,000 patients have been diagnosed on the platform, and positive findings in about 26,000 patients, of which 2,000 life-threatening findings have been discovered at the right time. And we have the world's largest data bank of oculomotor performance data, about 350,000 minutes of oculomotor performance data. So this is the next product in the pipeline. It's a rehabilitation tool for vestibular rehabilitation using virtual reality. This is our product pipeline. Balance Eye is already in the market. Brain Eye is scheduled to be launched in December 2020, primarily for brain health and dynamic vision assessment. Has a lot of applications in ophthalmology as well. And the rehabilitation product is just launched. And we are also building products for telemedicine, where clinics can actually screen and do a first level diagnosis of the patient through our plugins online before even calling a patient for a clinical visit. These are some of our customers. You can see most of the large hospital chains in India are already using our product, starting from Columbia Asia to Aster to Sakra. And a whole bunch of defense hospitals, about 7 of them are using our product right now, including the prestigious Research and Referral Hospital in Delhi. A few of the awards that we have won. So we believe eyes are the new pulse, because a lot of things can be diagnosed in an absolutely non-invasive way. So thank you.
Pretty impressive. I think some of the work that you're doing is really the need of an hour today, because I think the last point which you kind of mentioned in your page, that during you will be able to get used during the diagnosis or kind of the first reach to the doctors through telemedicine. In fact, I was discussing with some of the doctors who are going to be on the panel tomorrow, based off London and US. They were kind of adapting to telemedicine. In the panel discussion, we had a lot of discussions about telemedicine, and therefore, if someone can see and diagnose through this thing, and I'm assuming the headset will not be required in that new version. I would be able to kind of capture through my iPhone and send the pictures, and you will be able to.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the screening part of the telemedicine module uses either the phone of the camera of the phone or the camera of the laptop or a desktop. So it doesn't require a dedicated device.
I think that would be very useful, because then it goes to the general purpose use for anyone to kind of go and click and send the pictures. That would be really interesting to see. Nilesh, any specific question?
Yeah, hi Niranjan. Quick question for the audience. I think we've spoken a lot about your technology. Go to market and reach. Is there a specific kind of doctor profile or clinics that are looking at in the short term to actually get the virality in terms of the solution that you're trying to build?
Yeah, so specifically, all our current installations are in hospitals which have neurology, ENT or audiology OPDs, as well as individual clinics run by neurologists, ENT specialists and audiologists. Going forward, we'll also be extending into the physiotherapy space.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
There will be audience poll for everyone who's interested in knowing more about all the startups who pitched today, their solution. We will be doing a detailed demo calls for all the people who are interested. I think, Nilesh, with that, we should call it a day. It was a long day.
Yeah, I want to thank all these startup founders to be a part of this forum. It's extremely difficult. The situation is not easy, given what is happening with COVID. But I think you guys have done a fantastic job with your presentations today, and definitely look forward to working with you guys.
Yeah, and to all the audience, once again, thank you for being patient. Appreciate your time. Thank you to our collaboration partners, FICCI, Pharmexcil, Pantomath Group, and Z-Nation team to be there. This could not have been possible without everyone's support. We have one more day tomorrow. It's again a power-packed discussion for the first 45 minutes, and 6 more startups who are going to be pitching tomorrow as well, solutions. We would like to take your feedback and see if we'll be able to do it. So we'll see you again tomorrow at 11 India time. Thank you and good night from my end. Bye.